All right. I'm calling this meeting back to order of the Sacramento City Unified School District Board of Education. All right. Item 4.1, Pledge of Allegiance. Deputy Superintendent Allen, would you like to lead us?
Please stand for the pledge. Salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Item 4.2, broadcast statement.
This meeting of the Sacramento City School Board is being recorded in its entirety and will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on Comcast, Consolidated Communications, and AT&T Uverse. Today's meeting will air Sunday, November 20th at 9 a.m. and Monday, November 21st at 12 p.m. It is also webcast at metro14live.saccounty.gov and can be reviewed on Metro Cable 14 YouTube channel. We welcome members of the audience to address the board. Please complete a speaker form located in the back of the community room and give them to our communications representative, along with any handouts you may have for the board prior to the conclusion to the item's presentation. Please speak into the microphone when addressing the board and state your name for the record. Please limit comments during public comments to items that are not on the agenda. If you do comment on an item that is on the agenda, we will ask that you please defer your comments till your item comes up on the agenda. Please also turn off your cell phones or place them on silent or vibrate.
Perfect, thank you. Item 4.3 tonight it will be introduced by Member Morosky.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to commend stellar student Shabnam Bayat. She's a senior at CK McClatchy High School. So the Assets Program Manager, Maria Jose Solares Luna, nominates Shabnam Bayat as a promising stellar student with many admirable attributes and outstanding academic performance. Over the past 2 years, Maria has had the pleasure of watching Shabnam grow and become an exemplar scholar and agent of change at CKM. The Assets program has benefited from Shabnam's community service and mentorship skills. It's a rare thing these days to find high school students volunteering their time of their own accord with busy schedules, but Shabnam is no ordinary student. Her unique passion and commitment to tutoring and mentoring students has contributed to the Assets program success. Shabnam has impacted the lives of many students in the Assets program, and we will always be grateful for her service and sense of duty. Congratulations, Shabnam. Thank you so much.
Would you like to say a few words?
Would you like to come up to the podium and say a couple words? Please.
Oh, you want to push it?
Press the button.
Oh, what? Push one more time. Nope, one more time. I think that's it.
Okay.
Yep, that works.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the recognition. I want to thank my teachers and my family and Miss MJ, our after-school program manager, for supporting me on this journey. I will keep working hard to reach my goals. My goal is to finish high school with good grades and go to college to study computer science and business. Thank you again.
Aw.
Congratulations.
You want to go down to take a picture, Member Morosky?
If you can come up front for a picture. Congratulations. Keep up the good work.
Congratulations again. All right. Item 5.0, announcement of action taken in closed session.
Good evening, President Pritchett. There are two announcements coming out of closed session this evening. The first, the board approved a special education settlement agreement identified as OAH case number 2022-080137 by a vote of 6-0 with member Villa absent. And second, the board approved a settlement agreement related to special education services by a vote of 7-0.
Got it. Okay. All right. Item 7.0, public comment. Oh.
We have a
Oh,
public
I'm sorry.
comment from Cheryl
on.
Fong.
Sorry, 1 second. I skipped a step. Item 6.0, agenda adoption. Can I get a, all right, I have a motion? Second, all in favor, say aye. All right, sorry about that. Item 7.0, public comment. Go right ahead.
Cheryl Fong.
Good evening again, Board. As I've mentioned to you, I've come before you with regards to the incident that happened at John F. Kennedy approximately 4 weeks ago. At this point, after my conversation with you, or just talk with you, the benefits of installing SRO officers back onto campus is to detour of having anyone else besides students on campuses. It is also relationship building within our community. It helps with traffic issues, and it de-escalates anything else or anyone else coming onto campuses. It is relationship building within the community. At this point, I'm asking the board to please put this on the agenda immediately on behalf of the Greenhaven Pocket community. I am prepared to have a petition signed by the Greenhaven Pocket community, in which Next Door Pocket represents over 10,000 homeowners or members. I'm requesting that it be put on the agenda immediately, and I would rather have this voted on sooner than later so things may be taken care of appropriately.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Next speaker.
Next speaker is Vince Shong, who would like to yield his time to Nicholas Aguilera.
Okay. 4 minutes on the clock. Good evening.
Do we just read off? Okay. Good evening, Madam President, distinguished members of the board, Deputy Superintendent Allen, and members of the public. My name is Nicholas Aguilera, and I am this year's elected president of Tiger Society, which is a scholarly leadership council at a YPSA charter school. I'm here with my elected fellow officers, Secretary Jalen Nem. Also with us this evening are our principal, sorry I didn't see you, and parents who are to support our leadership experience. I hope you all are having a great day. I know my day has been made better just by being here to meet you all. We are here tonight to share some great things that are happening at Yape Yeshua Academy, and to personally invite you to visit our school and attend our annual Mom Culture Day. Take it from me, you'll have a great time. At YPSA, we go to school Monday through Thursday, 8 to 5. We learn reading, writing, math, and social studies and science, the HET way. 1 hour of Hmong language development, dance, taekwondo, or PE. and 2 hours of Common Core State Standards practice from 3 to 5 in an adaptive online program called MobyMax. We learn and use the life skills of caring, cooperation, and problem solving, and many more. We also do hands-on learning, such as dissecting frogs to learn about cells and organs, and go on study trips for being there, learning experience. And by the way, study trips are one of my favorite things at YPSA. This year, we're looking forward to the Alliance Redwoods trip to learn about the ecosystem, landforms, and erosions. We thank you for giving our scholars the opportunity to have these learning experience for the past 12 years and future years. You'll be happy to know that this month's state release test shows YPSA increased about 7% from the previous year. For example, its meeting and exceeding standards in ELA increased from 33% to 2020 to 2021 to 40% in 2021 to 2022. Similarly to math increased from 20% to 28%. We invite you and district leaders to see us learn at our school. Also, please come to our annual Hmong Culture Day on December 22nd to get a more in-depth experience to the district's Hmong New Year celebration event, which will be held tomorrow here at the Cerna Center. And just so you know, I've been at YPSA from kindergarten all the way to 6th grade. Yape Shoa Academy has made me the scholar that I am today, which gave me the skills and confidence to lead as the president. I am also the product of your decision to approve Yape Shoa as a school. Thank you in advance for your consideration to visit us, and we look forward to seeing you. Thank you.
Perfect. You did a fantastic job. From one president to the next, to you are quite the leader. Could you please make sure that the information is sent to our board office so we can get that on our calendar? All right.
Go shake her hand. Yeah.
No. All right, next speaker.
Hope Chan, Robert Newton, Deetra Newton. You can all queue up.
Come on up to the microphone.
Hello, everyone. You want to go? No. Okay. So we come on behalf of William Land Elementary School, and we came to advocate for the Mandarin Immersion Program. And each of us have something to say, but are you ready? You can go, sweet peas.
No, it's okay. Hi, my name is Hope Chan. I am a 6th grader at William Land Elementary School. I am in the Mandarin Immersion Program. 大家好，我叫陈欣欣. I have been in the Mandarin Immersion Program since kindergarten, and I do not live in the district. My parents purposefully transferred me to SUSD so that I could be an MIP. It is really sad for me that we don't have a pathway for MIP in middle school or high school. This means that a lot of us who transferred into the district will be looking at transferring back to our home districts. It also means that the hard work we put in for these 7 years could be for nothing. Since language is something that can easily be lost if not used, I really hope that you will consider using some of the excess budget to expand the various immersion programs throughout the school district. Chinese 1, 2, or even 3 or 4 are not going to challenge MIP students or help us increase our language fluency. We need a real pathway forward. Please help us keep learning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Hello, my name is Peyton Newton, and I am a 6th grader from William Land Elementary Immersion Program. I'm from Indiana, and we were contemplating moving here, and when my parents found out there was an immersion program, it sealed the deal, and we moved across the country. And I joined the Mandarin program in kindergarten where I made many new friends and learned about the Chinese culture, and I absolutely love it and find it very interesting. The fact that there is no MIP program for middle school and high school students makes me feel upset knowing that I'll likely lose a lot of progress that I've made for the last 6.5 years. I hope any extra money you get, and oh my God. I hope if you get any extra money to put it towards the MIP program for kids that want to learn Chinese and don't have families that speak like I do. Thank you.
Can you speak some in Chinese? Say something.
Say what?
Just say thank you for your time or something.
谢谢.
Hi, good evening. My name is Virginia Ty. I'm a parent of a 4th and 6th grader at William Land. I'm here tonight to discuss continuing the Mandarin immersion program through secondary education and specifically through Sutter Middle School and West Campus High School, where most of our William Land graduates attend. We are now in the 15th year of this extremely popular and successful program at William Land. There's 5 classes that have matriculated onward from William Land, and it was so amazing to see how much Mandarin they learned and their oral fluency at the end of 6th grade. But it's a real loss that these classes did not have the opportunity to continue their Mandarin education through the Sacramento public school system. It's really an unfulfilled promise that we gave them. Let's not make this loss any greater. The vast majority of students wish to be able to continue their education at a higher level, and the parents support this endeavor. Our vision aligns with the district's. It's to have our students become global leaders, and learning Mandarin Chinese is an integral part of this. We need a new curriculum, an advanced Mandarin course that's beyond that of the standard Mandarin 1 through 4 that's currently offered. Our families are very enthusiastic, such that we raised the reported $35,000 needed to have a single class at Sutter Middle School, and this was 2 years ago, but obviously this is not sustainable for our families. And I feel that this $35,000 is very reasonable considering the immense gains that these students would have to attract many students to stay within the Sacramento Unified District. It would be a strong attribute for the district to demonstrate that we have a successful language program from K through 12, and we can use this model to extend it to the other languages that are offered. So now is the time to launch this in order to prepare for our graduating class and to help preserve the education of the prior students. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I'm Kyle Tang from in 4th grade at William Land Elementary, and I'm really glad that I learned Chinese, and if I don't keep on learning it after 6th grade, I feel like I won't be able to use it as much, and I'll forget it, and I won't know how to speak it anymore.
Good evening. My name is Robert Newton. That's my daughter. You just don't know how hard they work. Reading, writing, and arithmetic is hard. We ask them to do it in a second language. That's hard. You just don't know how hard these kids work. And I feel like we're pulling the rug out from under them. That's what it feels like. They do what we ask of them for the last 6.5, 7 years. Everything. Now it's our time to give back to them, and we can't. I hope you consider that. I think it would be a complete disuse of position as Board of Education, as parents, to not provide these children with the opportunity to further their immersion education in middle school and high school. We've relocated across the country for this. And now my hands are tied. So just please consider that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Alan Korematsu, and I am together here with my partner, Amy Bond. And I just wanted to emphasize about how successful this elementary school program, Mandarin Immersion Program, has been. What I have seen her son speak and read, be able to understand in Mandarin, and his hearing about what his other classmates can achieve. They could read the newspaper that's completely in Mandarin. He reads at an advanced stage that when I was at the college level, took me 3 years of college courses to get to where he's at now. And it's a different language that I studied, but it would be, I think it would be a shame if this great potential and opportunity was wasted. If you don't use it, you lose it. If people don't continue their skills, continue practicing, and I believe it is, your job as educators to provide these students with the best tools that you could provide for them. And this program, it's amazing in what it's already achieved and what it can achieve in middle and high school. I think it can be truly amazing and a wonderful thing for these students to have. So, thank you.
Thank you. Did you have any additional speakers?
Teacher Newton.
My husband already spoke, but watching our daughter from the age of kindergarten come home and be able to speak a complete different language from us blew our minds. And we know the direction that the world is going. If you have 2 languages, you're winning. And for her to be able to read and write in Mandarin is pretty special, because most kids, a lot of the high schools and junior high schools, they teach Spanish, maybe possibly French, and maybe they might throw in Mandarin, but it's kind of harder to pick up later in life. Their brains are like sponges. They have immersed themselves in this language. Before I have older kids, and I lived in Japan, and my oldest daughter learned Japanese. And we came back to the States, and there was nothing for her. So she forgot it. And then she took Mandarin when she got to high school, because it was like, well, maybe I can learn another language. And she did okay with it. So we vowed that, okay, well, we would like for her to learn another language. And we're so pleased with what William Land has done thus far. But it is a real shame knowing that next year, that's it. Short of us trying to find a tutor or trying to find someone that can maybe possibly keep the language up for her. It's not just her, it's the entire class. And they've known each other ever since kindergarten. They've been in each class every single year, all the way from kindergarten to the 6th grade. And each child can speak pretty much fluently. And that's a gift. And so we're just asking, I don't know what all you guys can do, but whatever you can do to keep this going for them, because it would be a shame for them to you see them in 2 years and they don't know anymore, because you will lose it if you don't use it. And I've learned that from my other kids. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
I just want to conclude by thanking all of you for your time. And I actually have spoken on this subject before, and this is their last year. My son's actually last year in 6th grade. And so 5 cohorts actually had missed this opportunity. And so we're just pleading for you to consider. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thank you all for coming out. I've asked that we get an update on this, that the board get an update. Thank you. All right, next speaker.
Michelle Hernandez.
Good evening.
I have to push the button.
I think it's already on.
Is it on?
Yes. It's
Okay.
on.
So, I was not expecting to be here tonight. I have no speech written, but I will tell you, there's this man, and his name is James Hernandez. He's my husband. And my husband is the plant manager at Kennedy High School. Now, my husband is the hardest working man that I know. My husband has 1,780 hours of sick leave. My husband, I'd have a baby, he'd come to work. My husband works a lot of overtime because you guys lack custodians. My husband is missing overtime from June, July, August, September, and October. I worked at a law firm with 18 attorneys. I did accounting. How does payroll close their books every month? My husband needs to be paid his overtime. You reach out to payroll, they'll call you back. This has gone on since June. I guarantee all of you, if you had worked the overtime, you'd want your money. We're not talking 5 hours, 30 hours, 60 hours. He has a lot of overtime that is due to him. And I hope somebody here that works in payroll can get a hold of my husband, who's working 8 hours tonight overtime because there are no custodians, that somebody will get a hold of him as soon as possible. Thank you.
We'll make sure we look into it. Next speaker.
David Fisher, combining time with Nikki Malewski.
4 minutes.
Good evening. David Fisher, President of the Sacramento City Teachers Association. Before we begin my prepared remarks, I will like to say that every week we receive dozens of phone calls and emails about pay. People have not been paid for all kinds of things since last year. They're paid wrong. Their payroll doesn't return their calls. It's an epidemic in this district, and we've been trying to get the district to have the accountability to deal with it for a long time. So I totally empathize with Mr. Hernandez and his wife, but it's widespread and epidemic. We've never seen it quite as bad. So at the last school board meeting, school board member Phillips was absent, but you all unanimously approved a resolution that you knew was incorrect. Unanimously. Board President Pritchett, board members Garcia, Morowski, Rhodes, Villa, and Wu all approved a resolution that, quote, sufficient textbooks or instructional materials were provided to each student, end quote. You approved this resolution after you were informed by both district staff and teachers that are in the classroom that it wasn't true. Ed Code requires the school board to make a determination of, quote, as to whether each pupil in the district has sufficient textbooks or instructional materials in each subject consistent with the content and cycles of the curriculum framework adopted by the state board, and to identify the remedy for insufficiencies, end quote. The staff summary of the resolution stated unequivocally, quote, 100% of the schools had sufficient textbooks and instructional materials by the 8th week of school, per Education Code 60119, end quote. In her deconstruction of the resolution, School Board President Pritchett explained that it was okay to approve the resolution because, quote, 100% does not actually appear in the resolution, end quote, even though it is in the summary that describes the intent of the resolution. Apparently, even though the resolution states, quote, the Sacramento City Unified School District has provided each pupil with sufficient textbooks and instructional materials aligned to the academic content standards and consistent with the cycles and content of the curriculum frameworks, end quote. To her, I guess that was a loophole whereby the school board could approve a resolution that you knew was false. Therefore, she urged the board to approve the resolution, and you did, unanimously. The SUSD School Board's core beliefs include the following, quote, we believe that all people value open, honest, and timely communication and collaboration. We believe that all people want to be held accountable and rewarded for their contribution to the attainment of common goals, end quote. So I'll just end with a simple question. How do you as a school board intend to hold yourselves and the superintendent accountable for the lack of honesty, lack of communication, and lack of collaboration? By the way, the teachers who spoke at the last meeting after you voted and it said that 100% of the students had their materials still don't have their materials. Thank you.
I don't think we can for the diets. It's not on the agenda. Yeah, okay. Next speaker.
Yumiko, who is yielding time to Yolanda Padilla.
You can push the button and do it. I think I'm going to talk. Okay. Okay, all right. Thank you. Okay. Good evening.
Evening. My name is Yolanda Padilla. I'm a preschool teacher. The question is, what's going on with child development? 20 years ago, I began as an early Head Start home visitor for a teen parenting program, working in their homes, keeping them in school, educating them to be parents, eliminated. I was an early Head Start teacher, working with infant toddlers. That was my specialty. The program eliminated. Letitia, you signed it off, February of 2019. I was one of those teachers. Our family partnership, where is it? Our SELs. Patty, Delarice, Lala, gone. Our mental health, Jen, David, John, Valerie, followed the steps of Sherman, worked in the homes, worked in the classrooms with us. For 10 years, I worked with David Alamán here. I credit him for a lot of that, what I do in preschool. Our leadership, passion with children, Deb Merchant, Aida, their passion to help these kids and back us up. What happened? We have Melissa Seegers and Christina Rosalie. Lack the passion, lack to even help us as teachers to help these families. These families are not here. I'm here. I work at Parkway, and I'm helping these families, and because of David Alamán, I built relationships. I work on the positive. I've been at Head Start for years, and I understand TK. Seta took our classroom to TK. I understand, because years ago, I was telling you, Mr. Rhodes, I was hired as a young lady called a nursery school teacher, and I understand the changes. But what is happening to child development? I don't look like a Head Start program. Our leadership lack the knowledge, lack the support to help us go forward. Melissa Seeger, Christina Rosalie. But the talent is within our teachers. I know I'm at the end of my career, but I sure like to support these teachers. Give us our mental health. Give us our SELs. What happened, Letitia? We don't look like a Head Start program. And the TK next to me, where's their support? I work next to TK. Do the principals know about 0 to 5? So what about child development? Where are we? We're down to the skeleton. We need leadership to expand us, to support us. We need your help. So we just need your help. We need to start looking like a Head Start program. This is really, for where we were 20 years ago to now, we're supporting the families. It's me. Just supporting these families, supporting these children. So we're hoping to get the board's support to open up their eyes on child development and TK too, to bring us together. But we also need that leadership. We need our mental health, which is very important. We need more support in the classroom and start looking with that family partnership. Start bringing back our resource teachers, our family partnership, and our mental health. That's so important. But thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker.
Krista Triplett.
Good evening.
Hello, how are you guys doing today? Hopefully everyone's having a blessed evening. I came here tonight. I have a lot of concerns. For the most part, my daughter, as some of you probably have known, was one of the students that was attacked at Kennedy High School. There were some non-students that came onto the campus, caught her in the hallway going to the restroom, attacked her, proceeded to the classroom, and pepper sprayed and attacked another young lady in classroom during class while school was actively going on. At that moment, being a parent and being at work and getting a phone call from a whole bunch of kids telling me something happened with my daughter, and for her to FaceTime me from a random phone number and I see blood coming down her head. I almost lost my life trying to make it to that school. I told my daughter, it's so unfortunate that this had to happen to her, but it happened with the right parent, because it opened a lot of doors for a lot of topics that are not discussed. You know, I feel like in this world today, if any and everybody can agree with me, kids are not a priority anymore. Kids are like at the bottom total pole now. Their safety is not a concern. Their education is not a concern. The support for the staff is not a concern. Anything involving children has not been a top priority across the world. We have school shootings. A lot of innocent children lost their lives. A lot of faculty, staff. In this incident, one of the staff members got pepper sprayed and ended up in the hospital. A lot of these schools lack a lot of support. It's at this point, I realize it's a bigger situation. Her situation really opened my eyes to a lot of things that's going on, because currently now, I pulled her out of school for safety reasons. I'm the one who put in a lot of the footwork, talking to people, reaching out to people, trying to find out what is going on with this situation. Thank you, Daryl Wu, for reaching out to me. Thank you so much, Christina. I know we tried to arrange a meeting, and I truly appreciate that. But like I said, I have a teenager who's now depressed in her room, sleeping every day, still not in school, not receiving an education right now, that I have to deal with. Because now a kid who had good grades prior to this incident, her grades dropped down to D's and F's because her not being at school. Got a referral for her to get homeschooled, but since she has an IEP, it delayed the process and she missed her spot. But they say, hey, put her on 15 days of homeschool through Kennedy. Okay, that's fine. The only issue with that is keyword IEP. Obviously, there's other resources that she need. And for me to be told, in order for her to get that help, she has to go back to this campus where my concerns for her safety lie, and that's why she's at home, to get the help that she needs. When my daughter called me that day, I never received a phone call from none of the staff from the school to say, hey, we have your daughter, an incident occurred, she was hurt, but she's safe, we're taking care of her right now, but you need to get here. I never got that. I never had anyone to reach out to me and say, hey, we understand you want to take her out of school. We see that she has an IEP. You want to homeschool her. We're going to try to work with someone to hold her spot until her IEP is done. Now I'm getting phone calls every single day. My daughter's missing school. I'm calling every day, trying to find out, calling Saba and everything right now. She can't wait to attend school until the next semester. This is a huge concern. And I feel like as parents, for anybody, I don't care if your kid is in private school, public school, like they say, it takes a village to raise these kids. And you know, a lot of people are elected to be in those chairs that they're in. We put our trust into you guys to handle these jobs. And I know it's a big job. There's a lot of things going on in this world. A lot of violence in school right now. A lot of fights, a lot of drug abuse, a lot of bullying. You know, these are major concerns. And me trying to be the parent to step up and say, you know what, maybe it has to start with me. Maybe start holding parents accountable. maybe start bringing more programs to help these students out that has, issues and, they provoke violence on other people. I don't know, but all I know is that this is a time where everybody needs to start working together and children needs to start being a priority again. It shouldn't be a reason that any school is lacking anything. A lot of us parents go to work every day, we pay our taxes, we do what we need to do to support our children. And I really feel like in order to get the safety measures, I don't know what we got to do. I will take money out of my own pocket to make sure schools are safe. My son, he goes to Caroline Winslow. They're officially now becoming a closed campus. To have parents see me on the news and say, you know what? We are so happy that you did that. Because no one's taking these matters serious. How much does it cost just to close our campuses, get more protection, monitor who comes on and off campus for the parents to understand that I get what's going on in the world and people don't trust police officers. But now with everything that's going on, these kids need some type of protection.
Sorry, Ms. Triplett, I'm going to have to ask you I want you to finish your thought. And
But that's the reason why I'm here. I got a lot on my mind. It's a lot going on in my life, and I just hope that with my daughter being home and not in school right now and her grades dropping and all of this is happening to her, I just hope someone that can reach out to me, figure it out, just so she feel like she just failed doing all this hard work and now she's just sitting there having to start all over again. So, yeah.
I appreciate you coming out tonight.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
Next speaker.
No.
No additional speakers? Okay. Item 8.0, special presentation. 8.1, recognition of outgoing board members. Tonight, we will be honoring Member Morawski. And I have the pleasure of...
We missed yours.
Oh, we missed a public speaker?
John Myers.
Okay. All right. We'll get back to 8.1. Go ahead, Mr. Myers.
Good evening, Board. I think I'm with the Mandarin Immersion Program. I have a fifth grader that's doing really well in the program and wondering what he'll do when he gets to seventh grade. And I have an eighth grader that was part of the, John Myers, by the way, that was part of the parent-funded program last year. And, that's been pulled away. I can't say anything better than what, these speakers said, especially the young people. I think they spoke very eloquently on the value of the Mandarin Immersion Program. So I'll just kind of do some cleanup here. I think we've tried really hard for a number of years, and I think especially in the last 6 months to 9 months, we've reached out to many board members, and it's been very, very difficult to get a response. Ms. Garcia, I do appreciate you at least, emailing back and, saying, hey, we're working on it. But, what are we looking for? We're really looking for engagement. I think we're hopeful that there might be a first meeting tomorrow afternoon at William Land, but we're really looking for, continued discussion. I think this is important. And I don't think this is a, us versus the board thing. I think this is a program that's, you see how amazing it is. You see how diverse it is. You see how academically rigorous it is to go off and learn Mandarin. And for us parents to try to figure out what our kids are doing for their homework. I think we really got to recognize that you have a stable, long-running program that's doing really well. And you have a great opportunity to build on that and make it really like a center point of Sac City Unified. I think we need some wins in this district. This is one that we should chase after, and we really hope that we can hear from you on a regular basis and we can keep this discussion going. So thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Any additional?
No more public comment.
Okay. All right. Back to 8.1, recognition of outgoing board member. As I was saying, I have the honor of honoring our board member Morosky this evening. Board member Morosky joined us 4 years ago on this board, and we spent a lot of time as board members together. And we've been through some good times and bad times. We build relationships. And the impact that you have made in Sac City will go on. You have been a great asset to this board, and I hope that you recognize that. So I didn't prepare anything, and maybe I should have, because I consider Lisa not only as a colleague, but as a friend. We grow close to each other. So just thank you for the time that you've had on this board, and I look forward to seeing you outside this room, spending some time with you. So with that, we have a beautiful apple for you. And I'll read to you what it says inside. It says, this glass apple is hand blown. Air bubbles inside the blown glass are referred to as seeds. They are common and unavoidable. Because these pieces are crafted by hand, each piece may be slightly different, much like our board and like our students. Seeds will not be consistent and may vary from apple to apple. So with that, I'd just like to say thank you for your time. I know this is not an easy time, but it should be a happy time of the impact that you've made. So with that, I'll have this beautiful apple for you. You're welcome. And we all pitched in. Oh, with these beautiful. Wow. Oh, so lovely. Thank you. Oh. One more thing. We have this card. We have a card. Thank you. So lovely. Something? Would you like to say something?
Yeah, thank you so. Oh. Should you put in a comment card? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. That's super heartwarming, and thank you for the green apple and the lovely. It's really, really sweet of everyone. I just, since this is my last opportunity, to take a little privilege here. This has been such an amazing honor I don't know. I'm soft on democracy. Like I think this is an amazing thing to be able to be chosen by your community and try to represent their interests and be up here and be able to do that. It's just been the honor of my life. So I just appreciate the opportunity to serve. It's not been an easy 4 years. We've had challenges that have been unrelenting, and I'm really proud of the way we've faced those challenges together as a board. I came here to stand up for the needs of children and our community, and that's what I've tried to do for 4 years. I think some of the things that I'm proud of, I feel like there's a lot of work to do, always, and oftentimes we don't hear about our successes, but we've come a long way in 4 years. And we've stabilized our budget. We've made some really hard decisions to prioritize our students. In terms of academic, we have a long way to go given COVID. We were starting to make some gains before that, but we've expanded TK, we've expanded after-school program, we've adopted new science curriculum. We are adopting our new social science and history curriculum, which is way overdue, but we're doing it now. We've maintained successful programs like HISP. We've implemented multi-tier systems and supports across our district, or we're in the process of doing that. It's evidence-based. It will get the kids what they need. In terms of arts programs, we've done a ton for social emotional support. We are, adopting arts policy and an arts plan. We've partnered with Wide Open Walls, and everyone should come out to Bret Hart this Saturday to see that transformed. Facilities, I know, Member Garcia, President Pritchett, and I, worked on the bond campaign together, and we secured from our constituents of Sac City $750 million in bond funds to transform a lot of our district. We're rebuilding 3 schools from scratch and rehabbing a lot of other things, which is amazing. And we have a comprehensive assessment of all of our facilities across our district. We have an award-winning equity-based facilities plan. Lots of stuff on health, wellness, and nutrition that I'm proud that we've done over the last several years. And especially with the facilities, the Central Kitchen and Floyd Farms. With our COVID response, that's just one of the things that we've done over the last 4 years. We've led with science, and I'm proud to have been able to be up here and lead with science and data and public health first. We took action to try to get our kids back in the classroom as much and as soon as possible when it was safe. We've done a ton on community engagement. We've reached out for our LCAP process way more than we ever had before. We did community budget forums when we were having the fiscal crisis, and that was something that was driven by the board. We did visioning sessions at Bret Hart. I had hosted myself a huge series of listening sessions in 2020 to hear about folks' experiences with distance learning. And now we launched the Seal of Civic Engagement. We just improved inclusiveness and outreach. We have our Reimagine School Safety Task Force, African American Advisory Board, Task Force on Renaming Schools. Now we have community fairs throughout the district, and a lot more. Also wanted to just mention our work on anti-racism, making sure that our teachers and folks throughout our district get training in anti-racism, and the board has also done that ourselves. And finally, just working with our employees, offering first-in-class benefits and fair compensation is also a point of pride. So just to my fellow board members, remember, like I said, this is not an easy job. It is full of trade-offs. We have to stay focused on the needs of the kids, and that's what I'm really proud to say this board has done over the last 4 years. I want to thank our teachers and all of our staff throughout our district for everything you do every day. I want to thank the district staff who are kind of sometimes unsung heroes behind a lot of the work that gets done, our superintendent and cabinet, and mostly my husband, Ben, who's here tonight, my sons, Milo and Harvey, and the best mother-in-law anyone could ever ask for, Amy. So thank you all so much for this opportunity. I hope, the next board members who come after me, this board, the continuing board members who are serving, we really have to do a moonshot to make sure that we give back what our kids couldn't have over the last couple of years and to get them back up where they deserve to be. We have a lot more work to do, but I really appreciate the opportunity to do what I've been able to do for the last 4 years, and I will miss you all very much. Thank you.
Do we have any public comment?
No.
All right. Do we have any board comments? Member Villa?
I will keep mine short because I don't want to tear up, but I just am very thankful and very honored that I was able to serve on this board with you for the past 2 years during extremely challenging times. But again, like you said, so much work to do. We've done a lot of amazing things. It's wonderful to hear that and be reminded of what our focus is. I'm very thankful to have met you, and I consider you a friend, and I hope that you enjoy your Thursday nights free now with your family. Thank you.
Member Garcia.
Yes, so, wow. Lisa, it's been a long 4 years. We met 4 years ago, and I have to say that I consider you a close friend. We bonded over this journey, the valleys and the peaks. You've tackled some incredibly difficult and complex issues with such intelligence, thoughtfulness, and grace, without losing focus on the mission at hand, which is our littles, our students. So it's always been something that I've admired that you've brought to this board, and you will be missed. So thank you for all the hard work. Our students, our entire system is better off for you being on this board for 4 years. So thank you.
Member Phillips.
Lisa. The only thing that I have to say is that I will miss your calculating mind, your ability to, and it's just me because, maybe I don't have my numbers straight most of the time. Lisa has had an ability somehow to make things make sense, and from a heart level. And, there have been tough times, yes, but she did put her all into it, and I really appreciate what you've done for us. So please enjoy and live your best life. Y'all are going to love having your mom back, and your wife, and your daughter-in-law.
Member Wu.
Lisa, I just want to wish you well. You will be greatly missed. Indeed, greatly, greatly missed. And, some of the rides that we rode home together late at night, really late at night, they were interesting conversations, but they were very, very to the heart. And I wish you well in your future. I am sure the state of California is going to benefit from your fresh face, especially Friday morning. And your children, your husband, your mother-in-law, they will greatly appreciate you. Thank you.
Member Rhodes.
Yes, Lisa, I feel like since I've been on board, we've been sitting next to each other. And I've been able to grow next to you, and I really appreciate the insight you give and the difference of opinions and pragmatic looking at things for movement forward. And you'll be missed, but know that you're not that far away and that we can always connect with you. So I appreciate you, and I look forward to you. Maybe you come in the audience. Maybe your kids will win awards. You can come back. Stellar student, maybe. But I look forward to it, and enjoy your time. I know you're still doing great work for the state of California and the city of Sacramento, just in a different capacity. Thank you.
Thank you also.
Member Wu, did you? Oh. Okay. Deputy Superintendent Allen.
Thank you. Thank you. I have a statement to read on behalf of Superintendent Aguilar. It says, I want to take the moment to recognize that this is the final meeting for District 1 Board of Education member Lisa Morawski. Her term is expiring, and she chose not to run again. During her time with us, Lisa has demonstrated dedication and fierce advocacy. She has been a champion for special education, recognizing our LGBTQ plus communities during Pride Month and our Return to Health plan for in-person instruction. Her day job as principal consultant for the State Assembly Appropriations Committee has provided our district with key insight and thoughtfulness on how to proceed with many complicated matters before the board during an incredibly challenging and unprecedented term. Member Morawski, we thank you for your service to the Sacramento City Unified Board of Education, and we hope this is not a goodbye and that you continue to advocate on matters in the future as an active district parent. That's from Superintendent Aguilar. And from me, I just want to tell you thank you. I greatly appreciate your service and your dedication to this board and to the community and to our students, and you will be greatly missed. I appreciate your thoughtfulness.
Yes. Morawski, our analytical thinker, who definitely makes us view things in a different light. And this board becomes a family. And when one of us leaves, it tears that piece out. But it's been an honor to serve with you. And I know this is not goodbye, but we'll talk soon. We'll see you later.
Thank you, guys. You're too good.
All right. Okay. Item 8.2, college readiness update. Christina Espinoza. And you guys are not Christina Espinoza.
Good evening, members of the board, Deputy Superintendent Allen. My name is Ed Eldridge, and I'm the Director for Strategy and Innovation. Tonight it's my pleasure to stand in for Ms. Christina Espinoza, our Director for Counseling and Guidance, and present to you our district's college readiness initiative alongside Mr. Daniel Spinka, our district's linked learning coordinator, Ms. Jackie Nevadas, College and Career Experience Coordinator, Abraham Ayubayati, our Work-Based Link Coordinator. In SUSD, we understand that every system is perfectly designed to get the results that it gets. As we work toward leveling the playing field and providing opportunities for everyone to learn and grow and reach greatness, tonight we're going to highlight some of our systemic efforts to ensure that all students are given the opportunity to graduate with the greatest number of post-secondary choices from the widest array of options. So helping to guide and focus our work around ensuring that all students graduate the greatest number of options, we have put together and working as a district on a portrait of a district graduate. Now, it's also known as a graduate profile. And it's a profile that's used to articulate the cognitive, the personal and interpersonal skills and competencies that students should have when they graduate from our district. Now, the development of the district's profile of a graduate is a high priority of our superintendent, of our district staff, and it's also an LCAP goal. As such, the district is partnering with the statewide work group, the Skilling Student Success, to flesh out and formalize what the district means when it declares that students should graduate with critical thinking and problem-solving skills, creativity, innovation, and entrepreneurship, communication and collaboration, media evaluation and application, and also life and leadership skills. Now, as we continue to make progress, we will bring this item back to the Board of Education. Now, in this presentation, you're going to see and may come across quite a few acronyms, and we have included a list of those acronyms here for your reference. Now, in our district, we know that college and career readiness does not begin in high school. It is a K-12 or a TK-12 endeavor. But for the purpose of this presentation, we wanted to start with the end in mind. And we want to highlight the college eligibility matching analysis and resulting letter that is provided to every student, every 12th grade student in SUSD. This analysis takes into account each student's profile based on credits completed, their GPA for courses meeting UC and CSU requirements, and other AP and honors courses, and it is used to provide students additional information as they submit their college applications before the annual deadlines. Typically, that deadline is November 30th, but this year we understand that some CSUs have expanded that by a couple weeks. The cross-departmental collaboration effort includes informing students about resources available at UC and CSU campuses, and it also includes information about private universities and other universities of institution of higher education across California, as well as our historically Black colleges and universities. Again, the goal is for students to be prepared to graduate with the greatest number of post-secondary choices from the widest array of options. Now, finally, as part of our district's commitment to preparing our students to be ready for college upon graduation, we are continually working to remove barriers that prevent students from successfully matriculating from our district to an institution of higher education. Thanks to the advocacy efforts of Dr. Mark Carnero and the Student Advisory Committee in the district's Youth Development Support Services Department, this year SUSD has implemented a college application fee waiver. The district will cover the college application fee up to $100 for every eligible 12th grade student in the district. The deadline for requests to receive a district aid application was tomorrow, but we have extended that deadline to December 10th to be reflective of the additional time some CSUs have made available to students to apply. Now, at this time, I'm going to I have one more slide before I give it over. Oh, this is one of my favorite slides. I don't want to give this one up yet. Now, again, much of the work you're going to see tonight is highlighting a secondary effort. But we wanted to make sure that we brought back and really hammered home that this is a K-12, a TK-12 effort. Now, obviously, we're going to talk about, again, the secondary space. But we understand that for students to be prepared at the secondary level, they have to be prepared coming into the secondary level. So when students leave in middle school, they need to be ready for high school. When students are leaving elementary school, they need to be ready for middle school. And in order to be ready for middle school, that really takes into account being ready at the third grade and as well as kindergarten success. And so tonight, and I'm going to turn it over right now to Mr. Sminka, he's going to talk about some of those efforts along that trajectory.
Good evening, board. I appreciate you having us out this evening. Christina was sorry that she missed you, but she had some prearranged matters that she had to attend to. Some of you might recognize the roadmap that we're looking at right now. We were presenting a similar roadmap in June, and we've been continuing on the road to preparing our students for college and career readiness. So just some of the initiatives and updates that we've done over the last few months is we've been successful in hiring our work-based learning coordinator and our college and career experiences coordinator. And we've hired a number of our college and career techs, right? We've been working on career exploration visits. We've been amping up our work-based learning and had a number of college and career readiness events that some of you had the opportunity to attend, and we appreciate. As I transition into the summer work that we took to improve the student learning experiences in Sacramento City, we partnered with the multilingual department for an awesome professional development that supported a number of our teachers district-wide and understanding research-proven instructional strategies to ensure that our English learners had the supports that they needed in their academic classes. We've been providing direct coaching to support teachers with their instructional practices and provided a number of instructional resources. We've also been supporting our site administrators and school site leaders with intensive master schedule training from a site visit down in Los Angeles at a couple of schools that really represented a similar demographic to Sacramento City, to regular professional development for our site administrators and master scheduling review to look for improvements. We've also been working in depth with our school sites from our our teachers, to our site administrators and counselors to improve the ways that we support and offer our college and career readiness experiences. You can see a number of examples on the slide. I'm going to invite Jackie Navarro up here to kind of share some of the college and career readiness experiences that we've had.
Great. Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, board, for having me. I'm really excited to be returning back to Sacramento City. I was here for 10 years, and so as soon as I got the first opportunity, my daughter graduated from Elk Grove, which meant I could come back to Sac City, so I'm really happy to be here. And I was even more excited to start my work here with the HBCU fair. I'm an extreme advocate of our HBCUs, and so I was very delighted that we had such a good attendance. We actually had, over 300 students attend, but we had 3 that got full rides, so that was wonderful. I then was able to take part in creating our college and career fair, and so that's not only exposure, but it's expanding our students' minds, looking at industry, looking at post-secondary options, helping them to have some hands-on experiences. And we did a lot of things by including our community in that. We actually had a vaccination station. We had multiple organizations with supporting medical supports for our families. So we took a little bit of a different turn and really just made it something that was very community engaging, community involved, and we're already planning for next year's, and it's going to be bigger. So we had 120 vendors this year. So like I said, I'm looking forward to already planning for next year. In our district, we do various Cash for Colleges. At this point, we have 5. We should be scheduling, I think, maybe one more in the springtime, and being supported with CalSOAP. And that Cash for College is where our students go and they either complete their FAFSA, their California Dream Act. And it's really delightful to hear that Rosemont had a 300-person attendance to one of those this year. So we're really just pleased to be able to activate our students' college and career opportunities through exposure and through financial opportunities as well. So thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. So as we move into our fall initiatives, this is work that we're currently in action on supporting. So one of the other kind of proud accomplishments that we've had this year is we had our first in-person advisory council to support our college and career readiness initiatives just a few weeks ago. And we had 18 attendees from outside of our department come from industry professionals, SCOE representatives, community college representatives, and just really a wealth of perspectives that came to the table to look at our data, look at our initiatives, and give us input and feedback. We've had optional summer professional learning. We really tried to double down this summer on supporting our teachers to kind of re-enter the classroom. A lot of us know that instruction took place in person last year, but we also saw how impacted it was and know that it really couldn't be what it could be, right? And so we really doubled down this summer in trying to support teachers and have everything that they need to go back into the classroom and provide high quality education. We also had some integrated student leadership opportunities, such as the State Seal Civic Engagement that was mentioned earlier, and our CTE leadership organizations. So another collaboration that we've been working on enhancing is our partnership with Los Rios Community College. We will be having an upcoming event through collaboration and support. Our teachers from Sac City and our community college partners are going to be coming together and looking for ways to align and really kind of digging into the work, which we're really proud of. I want to take a moment to kind of introduce to the board Abraham, who's our work-based learning coordinator and great asset, along with Jackie, to our college and career readiness department. I'm going to kind of hand these 2 slides over to him.
Thank you, Daniel, and good evening, board. Thank you for the opportunity for us to share out the work that we've been doing with the College and Career Readiness team. We define work-based learning as an educational strategy in which our students get the chance to interact and interface with industry and community partners so that they could take part in authentic real-world activities. A couple of the priorities that we have for work-based learning this year, for the rest of this academic year, are career exploration visits, as well as guest speakers. Career exploration visits go a step beyond field trips because they really are structured tours in which our students get the opportunity to visit a facility and also engage with employees, ask them questions, pick their brains, learn what it takes to flourish in that specific industry sector. For guest speakers, these are people that volunteer from various career sectors and get the chance to speak to our students about their academic journeys as well as their career paths. This could be done either in person or on Zoom. What we want to do with the time that we have left on the next slide is highlight some of the work-based learning experiences that took place last month. In October, we had the pleasure of partnering with Dean Peckham and the Sacramento Valley Manufacturing Alliance. And as you can see there, we hosted a pretty good amount of manufacturing tours in which many different companies in the region opened up their doors, welcomed 8 of our high schools, participated in 9 tours. Students got the chance to really explore the manufacturing industry, learn about production and assembly, engage with those employees, participate in career panels, test out some of the equipment that was being manufactured. And all in all, as you can see there, we had 8 manufacturing companies with 8 high schools that participated in 9 tours and 190 students that attended. These are all work-based learning experiences really designed to help our students on their path to graduating college, as Ed said, with the highest number of post-secondary options. Thank you.
And so as we move into the spring, we're trying to continue this momentum that we've been on over the last several months. We're, kind of building off of what Abraham presented. We're really trying to target specific industry outreach. We know some industries in our district have had a wealth of support over the years, and some have not, right? And so we're trying to make sure that we support those industries and support the students who also haven't had the opportunities over the years. We're offering college application workshops. I'm going to let Jackie speak to in a moment, providing FAFSA and DREAM Act workshops, expanding college campus visits, and again, we're really focused on increasing career visits for Sac City students, as that's also a transformative work-based learning experience that can really move kids forward. So I'm going to let Jackie kind of expand a little bit on the college offerings that they're working on.
Thank you so much, Daniel. So, so as I said, we've partnered with CalSOAP, which is Sac County Office of Sac County Office of Education, in coordinating multiple Cash for College workshops. Oftentimes there's alternate languages that are provided for those workshops. We do at each of the campuses, all of our counselors have coordinated a college application workshop, CSU, UC, and looking at a private as well as a financial aid workshop. So that's an expectation that we're really happy that our counselors and our counseling departments have met. We also are looking at in the spring coordinating some campus visits. So we're really trying to be very strategic with our campus visits, wanting to have our students have exposure to our local community colleges, CSUs, and an additional either UC or post-secondary being private, maybe like one of the UOPs. So we're really trying to broaden our students' horizons past just what maybe their neighbor did or maybe their sibling did. So really trying to bring that into a larger, larger scheme of their thought processing.
Thanks. And so we just want to close tonight with really bringing us back to the Sacramento City core value and guiding principle. We hope that you all see the work that our team is putting in to really providing the widest array of post-secondary options for our students, and then recognizing the systemic conditions that have made it so challenging for some of our students to succeed, and the work that we're doing to try and to kind of right injustices of the past. So with that, we'll close with our portrait of a graduate and offer any questions that come.
Perfect. Do we have any public comment?
No public comment.
All right. We'll ask for a board comment. And I just want to say thank you so much for the work that's been put into this. It's really important. And I know that we strive as a district that every one of our students is college ready. But we know that that's not always the path that every student wants to take. So it warms my heart to see like the things that we're doing to make sure that our students know that there are other options to make a livable wage. There are other ways to support your families, right? And so it's to see that 8 schools participated in this work-based learning experience and 190 students. I think that's the most we've ever had. Like I was like, whoa, this is awesome, right? Like, so I just want to say, this is a commitment of your guys' work that you've done. And a shout out to the Rosemont gang. I mean, 300 attendees. Both of my kids graduated from Rosemont High School. I remember sitting in these workshops feeling so confused as a parent, like, what are we doing? Like, how do I fill this thing out? And I remember there was only maybe like at most 20 of us in this big old cafeteria, right? Which, so to see 300, wow, that excites me. And so I'd love to see that throughout our district. So just thank you for the work that you've done. And I know that you guys are striving for more. I know that's in your mind of like, what else can we do? What else can we do? So I'm excited to see what's to come. Member Wu?
Yes, thank you. Do these, the CTE, do they include internships or while they're still in school?
So internships are part of the work-based learning experiences that students receive. And, I think we might have shared it in our past presentation, but, there's a work-based learning continuum. And on that continuum, it's really a wealth of work-based learning experiences that can be transformative for students. And going back to Abraham's presentation, it's everything from a career visit or engaging with an industry professional. And as you work through the continuum, kind of the gold standard that you're working towards is an internship. And so we try and develop them, but we also know that with all the work that goes into every internship, and Abraham really is working towards internships, that there can be a lot of missed opportunities and transformative experiences for students. So we really work strategically to look at our work-based learning data that we're uploading to CalPads and think about, with the data that we have and the work-based learning experiences that we have, what's a high leverage experience or 2 high leverage experiences that we can provide for students that will be transformative and can kind of fill in for the students that don't get the internships, right? And so while we're continuing to double down on those, we're really trying to provide a robust work-based learning experience for students that aligns with the continuum.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Member Garcia.
I just wanted to thank you for the work. I think it's exciting to see how much more robust the opportunities are. So I want to thank you for that. I also appreciate that the application fee waiver that our prior student board member brought forward as a request on behalf of the students is included in here. So I just have a couple more questions about how that is getting implemented or rolled out. So I know that many of our students, and I remember when I was going through this process, if you come from, a certain income level family, you get up to 3 applications waived, right? And anything beyond that, you have to pay for. So just to clarify, this additional application is in addition to the 3 waived. So some of our students will get up to 4, up to 5. And so the one that is waived by the district, or the application fee that is covered by the district, is that income eligible or just, okay, so it's regardless of income eligibility. Okay, so this is across the board. How do students know that it's available to them?
Yeah. So we've created communication with all the high school counselors. I presented that in October, presented it again in November. And so students actually completed a Google form. And so that's how we know who those students are. So we're tracking who those students are, what schools they say they're going to. And if it's a CSU, they're actually getting a waiver code that the counselors have access to, and they share that with them. If they are looking at going to a UC or private, then they're submitting for reimbursement, just because, unfortunately, those institutions situations aren't as conducive to providing a waiver code for us. But so that's how that process is working. And honestly, I scour it like every 15 minutes and assign waiver codes or send out messages. Okay, this student actually should be getting a reimbursement. And so they have me on speed dial. So after this meeting, I will go and look to see what happened, and I will add more waiver codes all through the holidays. So it really is, it's been a love that Christina has, brought to fruition. And so, yes.
Oh, that's good to hear. Is that the sort of like the beginning plan, that it's a reimbursed fee, and then moving forward, maybe some sort of understanding might be like an MOU or something, so they don't have to front the money?
Yeah, I think that, part of the challenge is, as we know, students don't always know where they're going to apply till the last moment. And so for us to be able to create budget codes and budget arrangements was something that we were really not sure where students, so this is kind of like that first piloting. So I'll have to let Christina speak a little bit more thoroughly about what the next steps would be. But she was able to coordinate with the CSUs to get the waiver codes. And so that, and honestly, that's, where the largest portion of our students are applying to, is the CSU. So we're meeting the biggest need, but the reimbursement situation actually is going pretty well. We also have allowed for the high school administration to request a Cal card. And then if a student is in a hardship, not being able to afford not being able to be reimbursed, then their institution can use their Cal card to pay for that application.
Okay, okay, so just like, see no burden on, the applicant is the goal, but I understand that it's probably going to take some time, and at least to lessen it to the maximum extent is still very helpful. And then the FAFSA, these events, are they happening at all comprehensive high schools?
At the comprehensive high schools, so the Cash for Colleges, CalSOAP works primarily with the comprehensive high schools, just that's how their budgeting, works with staffing arrangements. But all of our schools are doing either FAFSA / California DREAM Act. Whenever you say FAFSA, you speak California DREAM Act simultaneously. So they're doing those financial aid nights or during the day. So, some are doing, and I have a tracking of who, when they're doing it, because we also have an ESLR support counselor and our college mentors that will go out. So everyone is doing them at just like every different school. It's a little bit different times when they do them, so that varies. But yes, that's something that's taken place at all the schools. But the comprehensives are doing the Cash for College events.
Okay, I just remember being a volunteer a long time ago at some of these Cash for Colleges. I think these were like on a Saturday all day. We got some special training, but just helping the families and the students fill those applications out. They were just incredibly moving, and just the experience and for the parents or guardians, how college is now more attainable because they're filling out this very intimidating form application that they're the first ones navigating this process. So it was just really moving. And I always really enjoyed volunteering in those types of efforts. So I'm glad to hear that this is happening at all the comprehensive high schools. I do hope that we do hear about sort of the attendance rates, completion rates per comprehensive high school, so that we can continue to have higher goals, right, in terms of completion rates, because a lot of our students start them, but they don't complete them. And I know the district has done a really good job on that, at least pre-pandemic. But we could always do more. So I just want to thank you for that. And I just had a similar question to Board Member Wu in terms of the work-based learning and how that might work with some of the CTE programs. And, I'm thinking of, like the program at Rosemont High School, which is in partnership with some of the building trade. So just
trying to figure out how that works, and also maximizing opportunities, because I know our mission is to prepare our students for college and career, and it's up to the student to choose which path they want to take, and make sure that it's a viable path towards a great career. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit more about that.
I can definitely appreciate the question. So for our CTE classes, there's 12 elements of high quality career technical education, and work-based learning is one of those elements. And as a matter of fact, when the state goes through their federal program monitoring, they actually look at the work-based learning that we're providing with students. So it's in the framework for career technical education and for students to have. I think a lot of times what we see is we see folks come from industry into the classrooms, and their job changes a lot, right? They're using their technical skills, but they're being pushed and pulled in a lot of directions. And for some of our folks, it's really intuitive to continue to build those work-based learning experiences. For other folks, they need some extra support. And so we have Abraham to provide that support. We have our college and career techs that are going to be providing that support. And then we have the expertise of you all to help to continue to provide that support with the networks that you bring and with the people that you're at the table with in different places in your life, to bring those partnerships to Sacramento City. So we have people who want to be guest speakers and who want to be mentors and who want to tour kids through a career exploration visit and potentially even host an intern or two. And so COVID really impacted work-based learning nationwide. I mean, there's data to show it, there's anecdotal evidence to show it. And so we're in a similar place that a lot of districts are at, where we're trying to rebuild, and we think we have a really solid start. Our advisory council was one really good example. I'm going to kind of invite Abraham to fill in any gaps that I might have left out with that.
Yeah, no, I was just going to add to that. In addition to our advisory councils, we're creating spaces throughout the year to connect with industry. So Jackie and I have been working on our virtual coffee chats where we invite different industry partners, those that attended the HBCU Fair, College and Career Readiness Fair, and just let them know this is Sac City Unified School District. These are our goals. This is how you can partner with us and really work on how we can have that mutually beneficial relationship with our industry and community partners. So we're being extra intentional this year of creating those spaces of partnership, letting people know what our goals and our priorities are, and then inviting them in according to what their capacity is.
And just, one last note on that, we're also looking for untraditional ways to provide the work-based learning. So with our college and career event, we had industry partners there, some doing hands-on demonstrations, some taking time to talk with kids, talk about their career paths. So we're looking for every opportunity that we can get to provide the work-based learning. As this district provides more and more, we'll have to get more innovative in how we support folks.
Yeah, and just two other quick comments. The master scheduling, I know that is absolutely critical to create access, especially, for like ninth graders, right? To make sure they have the opportunity, even 10th grade, 11th grade, just so that they complete that whole sequence. And I also just wanted to just thank you for pursuing the dual enrollment MOU. I think we're one of the last districts in the region to pursue that. It's something that I'm looking forward to our students having, because this is just a critical opportunity for them to have the opportunity to graduate with college credits, so that they can they can have a head start in college. So as someone who's spent 3 years in community college trying to transfer out into a UC eventually, I just think that those opportunities that we can give our students in high school are critical, so that they don't lose time, because it's where you lose engagement and motivation trying to find your next transfer point after graduating high school. So to the extent that they have as much as possible after graduating, that is excellent. So I'm really really looking forward to seeing what that looks like and when that can start being available for our students. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Member Garcia's comments, I just wanted to note that I just once again want to tell you like how important these, and I know you guys know this, right, of how these FAFSA workshops and Castro colleges are. And it's not just for students. The parents that are sitting in the room, sometimes it's their first generation. The students are first generation of looking to college. And I can attest to this because this was my case with my son. I was a teen mother. Yes, I'm old enough to have a 30-year-old. I remember sitting in that room, and we weren't, in complete poverty, but I didn't think we could afford to pay for college for my son. And I went through the FAFSA process with him and saw that he was eligible to be able to go to school, to be able to get an education. And it was a wake-up call for me after my son enrolled into college, that I enrolled into college and was able to graduate because I was eligible for that FAFSA. So I just want you to know that you're not only impacting the students, but you're also impacting the parents. And so, sorry, it's kind of raw, And I just want you to know that because it does make a huge difference. And so I guess the big question is, how can we help? How can we help spread the word? Is there a social media campaign? Is there things that we can mail out? How do we get it out to our communities to help other parents know that this is available for their students and for them?
I think definitely that would be something that Christina would be interested in speaking with. Our communications department has been fantastic in sharing out information. We, give them little blurbs and they get it out lickety-split. But, I think that that's something that even going forward, the more input that you guys have as, being in the community and hearing what the questions that our families are asking, those are the kinds of things I think would be helpful for us to have, like a FAQ, right? And FAQ and SCUSD, right? The other thing to be noting is that the legislation, AB 469, actually was passed, and it is something that the expectation is everyone will either do the California DREAM Act, the FAFSA, or a waiver. So really, we have as a state, embrace the concept. Exactly what you're saying from your heart is it changes lives, right? It changes not only our young people's lives, but it can change our lives as well. And so I think that, maybe we can let Christina know when she is back that you guys are on board and literally on board. Haha. And I'll be playing here all night, folks. But that you guys are on board to support us in whatever ways that you guys can. And we really know your voices are strong and powerful. Your community's listening to you. So if we can harness that beautiful, power and voice, it's going to be helpful for us. So we'll definitely bring that back to Christina. Thank you so much.
I would love to see some type of social media campaign. Many of us are connected to our neighborhood associations, which has
Great idea.
hundreds and hundreds of people that are on social media to be able to push it out through them so they know that these are available. And for the paid college applications, I think that, just thinking back to me at that time, I would have thought, I would never be approved to be able to,
right.
to let me gather my thoughts because I'm getting emotional. Sorry. At that time, I would have thought that I couldn't afford to pay for more than one or two applications, even, as my kids are going through college. So the fact that we're helping even that just right over that poverty line of people that think that, they're not completely in poverty, to help them apply. It's very, very right on.
It provides a sense of freedom to families. Exactly.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm a loss of words.
No,
but I'm
tracking
emotional over it because I just bring myself back to that day. So
thank you
so much for your work.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a wonderful evening.
You as well. All right. Item 8.3, SUSD, Instructional Materials Adoption Process and History Social Sciences Adoption Updates. Good evening.
Good evening, board members. Thank you for having us tonight. Erin Hansen, Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction. I'm joined this evening by Dr. Shannon Pella, our Director of Professional Learning for ELA Literacy and Humanities, who is also overseeing our History Social Studies adoption currently. You can move on to the next slide. We are here this evening to give you an update on both the instructional materials adoption process in general and the History Social Studies Science, History Social Sciences adoption that is currently in progress. So as you see here, we have our core value. Every system is perfectly designed to get the results that it gets. And so one of the things that we will be sharing with you this evening is how we are using this process to improve outcomes for our students by following a very detailed chain of events in order to ensure that we have all of the community voices that we need in order to adopt materials that reflect the needs of our community. So you'll see how that ties in here. Next slide, please. Quick glossary of terms. I will highlight these as we go throughout, but just a reference for you to look back to. Next slide. So this is our instructional materials adoption process, and what we are going to do this evening is very quickly go through with you what each step of the process looks like. So if you would advance to the next slide, I will start with the process as it begins from the California Department of Education and the State Board of Education. Next slide. So at the state level, content standards are adopted first, and those are initiated by special legislative direction. So if standards are going to be changed, that's at the discretion of the legislature. So once then the state develops curriculum frameworks that are based on those content standards. Again, that's initiated by specific legislative funding, and each framework has an evaluation criteria, which is then used to evaluate instructional materials that publishers create. So once the content standards have been adopted, once the curriculum frameworks have been adopted by the state, then publishers provide instructional materials that are reviewed by the State Board of Education, and they then make recommendations about the instructional materials that school districts should use throughout the state. So there's a process that has to happen before we can initiate our process, and that all begins with the state. Next slide, please. So this is you have 3 slides in front of you, 7, 8, and 9. I'm not going to go into each one in detail, but what I want to point out to you on these slides is that it goes by content area. So for example, arts education, there were standards that were adopted in 2019. The state then adopted the curriculum framework in 2020, and then adopted state instructional materials that they recommend that districts can then select from. So if you go through each one of these slides, you'll see that they are highlighted: arts education, career technical education, computer science. Next slide, please. You'll see also ELA, ELD, health, history, social sciences, math, model school library. I'm sorry, all of a sudden I couldn't see that. And on the next slide, we have physical education, science, and world languages. So these are just here for reference in terms of when the state adopted the standards, when the state adopted the curriculum framework, and then when the state made their recommendations about instructional materials. So that's the state part of the process. Next slide. Our process is dictated by our board policies 6161.1. So you have a copy of that in your packet, as well as a link here. Next slide. So our first step is that we do a regular review of our cycles of current adoptions, and that is done as a collaboration between the Curriculum and Instruction Department and Library Textbook Services, which is also housed in the C&I department. Next slide, please. So in general, K-12 general education materials are adopted every 8 years based on the CDE and State Board of Education standards and frameworks, and we do those in all of these subject areas. The advanced placement instructional materials are adopted every 6 years based on College Board requirements. So there's a little bit of a strange overlap there with the 8 and the 6. You'll also note that there are a variety of factors that contribute to when we're able to follow through on those next steps for the adoption, having to do with we need to be strategic about adoptions and not doing a whole bunch of them at the same time. So we have to stagger them. That is for a number of reasons. One is related to funding, but another is that if we are going to adopt instructional materials, our teachers need to then receive professional learning and learn how to use those and transition into them. And so adopting multiple subject matter instructional materials at the same time is a heavier burden. So we try to spread those out. So there's a number of factors that contribute there. If you look at the next slides, and I'm not going to go through each one of these, but what I want to point out to you on this first one, so this is the science adoption cycle. So if you'll look at the top, Science K-5 Amplify, that we adopted that this year. So you see 2022-23 was the adoption year. Because it's K-12 general education, we adopt it for 8 years. And then the end of the adoption is 28-29. So we'd be looking to adopt again at the end of that, in the 9th year is the target. And then you'll see that the AP there are different lengths of time with AP, different pieces move at different rates depending on what the publisher has laid out, what the state has laid out, et cetera. Next slides, you'll see these are just for reference. You have the math adoption cycle. Next slide is ELA and ELD. That's followed by electives. Then you have world languages, and then history, social sciences, which brings me to I'm not quite ready yet. Almost to Dr. Pellet. Next slide, we have one more. There we go. So the next step after we review those cycles of current adoptions and we identify when are we able to actually implement these adoptions based on the factors that we discussed, then we request the budget in a collaboration and partnership with budget services. So on the next slide, you'll see recent adoptions and when they have taken place and the budgeted amount. So you see math, $5 million in 2014-15. We had K-12 in ELA, ELD in 16-17. And then in the last 2 years, we've adopted science for 6 through 12 and science for K-5. We are now in that current adoption of history, social sciences, K-12. And you see that the budget is $13 million. That includes not only the actual instructional materials purchases, it includes the online access, the teacher materials, the student online access, and it includes professional learning. So that budget encompasses all of that. And it also includes all of the work that we do ahead of time and working with our teachers to pre-screen and pilot and evaluate all of the materials. Next year, we are planning a world languages adoption. Next slide. Oh, thank you. We're right here. So the next piece, once we have the budget, we then launch the instructional materials adoption process. And that's what we are in the middle of right now for history, social sciences. So I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Pella to walk you through what that looks like in practice since we're in the middle of it right now.
Thank you, and good evening. So the next slide, please. The current history, social sciences, instructional materials adoption is guided by our board policy, which states that evaluation committees must be made up of teachers, administrators, and staff with subject matter expertise, broadly representative of our district's ethnic and socioeconomic composition, and a majority of the evaluation committee must be teachers. Next slide, please. The process and timeline for our current adoption began in May and June of 2022 with outreach to SCTA leadership, all K-6 teachers, and history, social science teachers of grades 7 through 12. All teachers that submitted an interest form were invited to participate. In July of 2022, participating teachers conducted an extensive pre-screening of materials, narrowing from 5 or 6 programs down to 2. This was accomplished by consensus. Participating teachers are currently engaged in the piloting process, which began with training for piloting teachers from the program curriculum trainers. Each teacher was provided a class set of textbooks, and consumables for each student in their piloting class. Teachers were also provided access to digital materials. Each program is piloted for 8 weeks, in which teachers teach at least 4 lessons from the program and provide evaluation and feedback for each lesson. Next slide, please. We provided a copy here of the letter that is standard for all curriculum adoptions or instructional materials adoptions, but this one is specific to our history social sciences process. Next slide, please. There are 77 piloting teachers from a diverse representation of schools in our district. And this slide breaks down the schools that K-5 teachers are piloting, 6 through 8 teachers, and the high schools in which we have 30 piloting teachers. Next slide, please. During the pre-screening that took place in July, 2 programs were selected for piloting for each grade band, and the current programs for K-5 are Pearson Savas and McGraw-Hill. For grades 6 through 8, Pearson Savas and Discovery Education. And for grades 9 through 12, teachers are piloting Teachers Curriculum Institute, or TCI, and McGraw-Hill. And if you notice in the top row, the programs that they selected from, those are all State Board of Education reviewed criteria, as Aaron discussed earlier. I mean, they all went through a State Board of Education criteria review. So they narrowed from those 5 or 6, down to the 2. Next slide, please. So the criteria for teacher evaluation was drawn from the CDE 2017 History Social Sciences Framework and are organized into 5 categories. The teachers evaluate based on whether or not the instructional materials are aligned with state-adopted standards. They evaluate how the programs are organized, the assessment and universal access tools and content, and how the instructional materials support planning and supporting kids. Next slide, please. The teacher evaluation also is based the teacher evaluation that's based on the criteria that I just discussed in the previous slide also includes student surveys, evaluation and assessment of student learning by looking at student work and analyzing the student work, an anti-racist, anti-bias survey, a final exit survey, community outreach and input, and then we will bring to you our recommendations, or teachers' recommendations, for your review and approval. And to note that all evaluations, surveys, community outreach, and input all contain opportunities for our teacher participants and our community input participants to evaluate the 2 program options through the lens of the Black African American Advisory Board's recommendation that we adopt and implement curriculum that reflects the Black African American experience. Next slide, please. Community input is also guided by our board policy, which states that all recommended materials shall be displayed and available for public inspection at a central district location. So from this coming December through February, the print materials for all programs will be displayed in the upstairs lobby here at Central Office with QR codes for community input. Links to digital materials will also be provided through our communications channels. And we are looking forward to bringing the Adoption Committee's recommendations to the board for consideration and approval in March. Thank you.
Thank you, Shannon. Next slide, please. And we've added this slide in. It's what happens after the adoption takes place. And I know there have been some questions about instructional materials and how those are fulfilled. And so we wanted to just take a moment and share with you that our library textbook services team, who works at the warehouse, has a very strict protocol that we follow every single year. So in February, our site leaders receive an inventory and forecast forms that they then complete based on their existing inventory of materials and their anticipated enrollment. And those go back to LTS, Library Textbook Services. LTS then analyzes those inventory needs, the enrollment forecasts, and they place orders for instructional materials in the spring. July through August, they receive and inventory those, and then in August and September, they distribute those instructional materials to sites based on the inventory and forecasts from March. What happens then, so at the sites, oops, we're almost done. Site staff then checks the instructional materials out to teachers and students so the LTS is able to monitor the inventory at sites. Ongoing, though, is that any time a site does not have what they need, they go to this website, Library Textbook Services, and they can request materials through that process. And when they do, it's directed directly to LTS, who then reaches out to the site to confirm the need and then delivers the materials. So that's the process. As soon as they get the request, they work to fulfill it immediately. So that is, last slide, I think that is our last one. That's from a different slide deck, but it should say questions and answers. So we are here to answer any questions that you have this evening. So we'll step aside for public comment.
All right, public comment?
We do not have any.
All right, do we have any board comment? Member Morosky.
Thank you so much. That was really, really helpful. And I'm just sad I won't be here to adopt this, but thank you for your work, and I'm so thrilled. So thank you.
Member Garcia.
Yes, this was very helpful, just following sort of the journey from the state to the classroom, right? So I did notice in just going through the lists, many of these, the dates are either, so I'm trying to reconcile sort of what we heard today, the process, et cetera, with what we heard last week, that there were some, foreign language books that were like 20 years old. So just trying to figure out how do we bridge that. And then noticing that the end of adoption dates, you have a lot of them that are like yesterday or, a few years ago, or maybe coming up real soon. So I'm just wondering, is this typical of how many sort of materials are near expiration or have expired of the district, and because of the fiscal crisis, so I know that was a big impact. So I'm just trying to find sort of if it's typical, if it was due to the fiscal crisis primarily, or if it's just about making sure there's money in the budget to try and stay as current as possible.
So it's difficult for me to answer what is typical because I've not been doing this throughout the course of these adoption cycles. What I can speak to, and I think the one that you're referring to that has a lot of end of adoption dates is the math adoption cycle. And so what I can share with you on that is that the CDE and State Board of Education have not yet adopted both the content standards and the framework and the instructional materials. So we're waiting on that process from the state. So math after world languages is next. And so Michaela Fetzer is here, who is our Director of Professional Learning, who oversees math, and I can invite her up to share some more about that if you'd like some more details tonight. But we're still waiting on the state process was delayed. So that's part of what's happening with math there. In all honesty, I'm not really sure why we've waited so long on world languages. I do know that we've been in this, there's a cycle of trying to prioritize, right? And in the last 6 or 8 years, we've adopted math, English language arts, science, now we're doing history, social studies, world languages is next, and so then we will start doing that again. And so yes, fiscal challenges completely contribute to that. I will also say, for example, history, social sciences last year, we had we knew that we needed to do this, and we needed a coordinator in order to be able to make it happen. And we actually hired Dr. Appella as our History Social Studies coordinator in March, and then she applied for and was appointed as our Director of Professional Learning, overseeing this area as well as others. So there's also staffing constraints, right, and bandwidth of staff and being able to manage this process. Last spring, our science coordinator, now MTSS Director Matt Coleman, shared with you our science adoption for K-5. And if you'll remember, there is a great deal of work that goes into that process, and the data analysis piece is very heavy. And as Shannon shared today, the importance of really engaging our teachers and our community in and getting their input to make sure that this decision is really reflective of the needs of our community is a very lengthy, important process that we need to take very seriously. And so we have to prioritize, and that can create delays. But what I can tell you is our team, as part of our strategic planning and thinking about how we manage this process, is going to be analyzing where we are in the adoption cycles and planning those out further than a year in advance. So it's, we know history, social science right now, world languages, but what we need to come back now with is a plan for what that looks like over the course of the next 8 years, so that we don't have that delay again.
Yeah, I think that would be very helpful to see beyond a year, because there are quite a bit of one-time funds that can be set aside to make sure that textbooks are current, right, regardless of subject matter. But this was very helpful. Thank you. I know it's a very lengthy process, so thank you for once again reminding us that it's a very inclusive process from beginning to end. And so by the time it gets adopted, it's been very well vetted and piloted and everything, starting from the state level, right? So it's a very curated, I think, result. And so sometimes we forget that. So thank you.
You're welcome. I encourage you, after Thanksgiving break, the materials will be upstairs in the lobby. So I encourage you to take a look, and then you'll also be receiving the digital connection or links via email too. So you'll get to get a little preview.
That's great. Well, I agree with all the comments that have been made. I'm looking forward to the adoption. And I just want to say thank you for kind of showing what happens next, because I don't think that's ever been in a presentation like that. So just thank you for the work. I'm looking forward to having you back.
We will be here.
All right.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Item 9.0, public hearing. 9.1, public hearing on resolution number 3298, resolution to convey the public safety easement entitles to the city of Sacramento for the new Woodbine Elementary fire hydrant. Hello, Mr. Browning.
Good evening, President Pritchett, board members, Deputy Superintendent Allen. In accordance with Education Code Article 15, we are required to follow and allow the public the opportunity to comment on any time the district intends to grant an easement or dedicate real property to another public entity. In this case, we're talking about a public safety easement for the city of Sacramento to install a fire hydrant in front of Woodbine Elementary, located at 2500 52nd Avenue in Sacramento, California. This easement is in order to provide adequate fire hydrant pressure for the elementary school site and adjacent residential housing in case of an emergency. This time, we would like to hold that public hearing and receive any public comments. This is not a board action item. The resolution will be voted on tonight during the consent agenda. Thank you.
Do we have any public comment?
We do not.
It says hearing and actions. Okay. We have a quick correction on the agenda. It does say hearing and action on the agenda, but it's just a hearing, and then we'll take action on the consent.
That is correct. You have to take action after the hearing closes, so they have to be two separate items by law.
Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarification. Well, I don't know about anybody else, but I'm excited that there's a fire hydrant in front of one of our schools. All right. Is there any board comment? Okay. Thank you, Mr. Browning. All right, item 9.2, public hearing AB 1200 disclosure and approval of agreements to provide Premier Access Dental for SEIU active employees, Teamsters active employees, TCS active employees, and UPE active employees, non-representative active employees. That's a mouthful.
It is. Good evening. The district has committed to pay 100% of the cost of the Premier Access Dental Plan for active employees and their dependents for the following employee groups: SEIU, Teamsters, TCS, UPE, and also non-represented employees. The Premier Access Dental Plan will be effective January 1st, 2023, sorry. And the total ongoing cost of this addition will be $510,277 and across 3 years, and will be funded with unrestricted and restricted general funds. And as part of the AB 1200 disclosure approval process, I'm asking for the board's approval for these MOUs.
Thank you. Is there any public comment? No public comment?
No, there's not.
All right, do we have any board comment? Member Garcia?
I just want to thank you for bringing this MOU before the board. I'm actually very excited to approve this MOU. I think this is an incredible benefit to these particular employee groups, bringing parity in the dental health coverage. And as someone who grew up in a very large family, my dad, through his labor union, was able to get a very generous dental health care plan where 5 of his 8 children were able to have braces, even though we were not a wealthy family by any stretch of the imagination. But that is something that can, change lives. And so it's just great to see that we have afforded this to our employees. And again, it brings parity with other employee groups. So now more of our employees and their children can have straight, healthy, pearly whites. So thank you.
You're welcome.
And with that, I will move.
Okay, we have no other comment. I had to make sure there were no other comments before it was moved. All right, I have a motion and a second. Deputy Superintendent Allen, can you please take roll call? Oh, sorry. Student preferential vote? That's been the first one all night.
Aye.
Member Pritchett?
Aye.
Bless you. Member Garcia? Aye. Member Rhodes?
Aye.
Member Morowski?
Aye.
Member Villa?
Aye.
Member Wu? Aye. Member Phillips?
Right. Okay. And do we need to take a second vote for hearing in action? No? One. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, perfect. Thank you, Ms. Manweller. Item 10.0 communications, employee organization reports, SCTA. All right, 11.0, board workshop, strategic plan, and other initiatives. 11.1, first reading of revised board policy 7310, naming of facilities. Welcome back, Mr. Browning.
Hello again, President Pritchett, and board members, Deputy Superintendent Allen. Tonight is the first reading of the revised board policy BP 3710, the naming of facilities. Tonight's acronym, one and only acronym.
It is.
Okay, so our current board policy was first adopted in the late 90s and last reviewed in 2001, so it is a little outdated. The policy itself is quite short, and there is currently no real alignment between the district's mission, vision, core values. And it really focuses on the naming of facilities after individuals. You can also name facilities after geographic locations, but it really doesn't provide any more opportunity than that. It does not provide for even us to name a school after any kind of academic focus. And so the policy is really restricted in that manner. And it outlines community involvement in the process, but it does not have anything to help ensure that the community involvement is of quality nature with a diverse range of voices. And then lastly, it allows for the renaming of facilities only under extraordinary circumstances. And so not really sure what that, there's a lot of question in the folks that we engaged around this policy on what exactly that meant. That is not part of the policy, so I'm not sure what's going on there. All right, we're back on it. So first and foremost, the proposed revisions before you as a first reading tonight really just call out the alignment with the district's mission and vision in any kind of naming or renaming of facilities. It also expands the criteria for which the board can entertain the naming of facilities to still include individuals, really focused on the primary legacy of those individuals and the alignment again with the mission and vision of the district. Still retains the geographic areas, but it also adds landmarks, cultural events, historic events, flora and fauna of the region, and other criteria such as academic focus, like I was saying. And then it also refines language around the oversight engagement process and the ability for the board to rename facilities. So the impetus for the revisions really go back to the renaming process for Sutter, Kit Carson, and Peter Burnett. In restarting that effort and talking with community members, actually even over the last couple of years, and reviewing the policy, there was some concern around the restrictions of what could possibly be included in a district facility name. And so bringing that forward prompted us to look at other best practices. One of the best practices that we pulled from here was actually Riverside Unified had an exemplary policy to pull from. We also looked at Fresno Unified, which had a strong policy as well. And so the policy revisions that we're recommending here really allows for district facilities to be named for a number of different criteria and provides the board, outlines the board's authority in renaming those facilities a little bit more. And again, outlines the committee process. And I think that it really just adds a general improvement in the alignment of the naming of facilities moving forward. So next steps, I want to bring this back to the board in December for your final review and approval. And then continuing the renaming efforts of Sutter, Kit Carson, and Peter Burnett. And at this point, I would be remiss if I didn't talk a little bit about Sutter, Kit Carson, and Peter Burnett. We have engaged with the 18 members of the committee that was formed in 2020. We have held office hours throughout the week, this week, and talked to many of them. We've had phone conversations with them over the past few weeks as well. We have our initial committee meetings on the books for the months of December and January, and the last meeting yet to be determined in February, with the intent of bringing forward to the board for their consideration potential names in March or early April. And with that, any initial questions?
Do we have any public comment? All right. I have some questions. Well, first off, I just want to say, yay, we're finally talking about this again. I know we started having these deep conversations pre-COVID. COVID had to kind of help put us to a stop, so I appreciate that we're bringing this back. In terms of just working with the community, was there any type of community meetings? Can you remind us of or will there be any type of communities and outreach just to kind of hear everyone's voices from these areas?
On the policy itself?
Yeah.
So we have talked with largely counterparts in Fresno Unified. We talked with 2 or 3 committee members on the renaming process pretty extensively. And then we've also worked with RSS Consulting, which is the consulting firm helping us with the renaming process, also helped us with the facilities master plan. And so that was the process for gaining that feedback.
Okay, and then moving forward after we approve this and we're talking about renaming, I'm assuming you'll be working with the communities and the school sites as well, correct?
For Sutter, Kit Carson, and Peter Burnett, yes. So part of the committee members, there is the principal from each of those sites and an identified staff person from each of those affected schools on that committee.
But are we doing outreach to the total community, at the school?
It's just the committee members. Those committee members were appointed by the board and superintendent, and so that was kind of the representation of that committee and community process.
Okay. All right. Are there any additional questions, Member Morosky?
Thank you. I'm also excited to see this come back, and I appreciate the updated policy as well. I would just ask you to consider, I don't know if, the board wants to consider adding this to the policy, but to the extent we're changing names because, we don't think that the names reflect the values of our district, or, there's some reason that's driving it. I think just it's important for the historical record to understand why. So I would consider, when we bring, I don't know if it's a resolution that you bring forward to change the name, but just to really document why we're doing it. I think it's important just to be specific about, it's named for this person, that doesn't reflect our values because of this, just to be specific and transparent in why we're doing things, just for the historical record, I feel like is important. So that is my request. Thanks.
Thank you, Member Morosky. All right, not seeing any other board comment. This is a first reading, and we'll bring it back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't go anywhere. Item 11.2, approve naming of O.W. Erlewine Science Lab to Anita Warmack Children's Science Lab.
Thank you, Board President, members of the board, Deputy Superintendent Allen. I'm Nathaniel Browning again, and I am graced with the esteemed principal, Mr. Chapman from O.W. Erlewine. I'm just going to tee it up and then let His Grace take us through the rest of the presentation. So we have 2 acronyms during this presentation. So as we've heard over the last few months, there's a lot happening at O.W. Erlewine. Part of that is a focus over the last few years on developing a STEAM and science focus on campus. And Mr. Chapman has worked very closely with staff and a broad base of partners to help develop professional learning opportunities, bring in grant dollars to create a science lab on campus out of a previous parent participation preschool. Part of that process is the naming of the new science lab in order to provide kind of purpose and identity of that. And I'm really here to speak about the policy portion of that. And I can tell you that Mr. Chapman did a wonderful job at engaging his community through the process and as such has really talked about the science lab, and over the last 2.5 years with his school site council, and has brought this naming possibility forward to the school site council as well as the PTA, and they overwhelmingly support the naming of this facility. And with that,
good evening, everyone. Board President Pritchett, board members, Miss Allen. It's wonderful to see you all this evening. It's been a long time since I've been in here. The Early Wine Committee requests the board's approval in naming the science lab in honor of Miss Anita Warmack, affectionately known as Miss Anita. Miss Anita was, as we have called her, served our community as a friend, advocate, and cheerleader for families and students. There is a common phrase used even today when a challenge arises in schools, in homes, and personal lives. What would Miss Anita do? This phrase embodies her mentorship, guidance, teachings, and how she leaned into her work in our communities. She worked tirelessly in building, growing, and maintaining the parent participation preschool program here in our district. Even when overcome with illness, Miss Anita found her way to her classroom to support her students and parents. Her calm, stoic, and unwavering love for children and learning defined her commitment to her work and her service. While she led by example, she was always shoulder to shoulder with colleagues, families, in finding creative, responsive, and loving ways to educate children and their families. The Parent Participation Preschool program is one that attempts to educate parents so that they are more thoughtfully able to support their own children's learning, schools, and communities. The impact of Miss Anita's work stretches across generations, and the ripples of her service will touch the lives of generations to come. When we were thinking about I've been at so many different schools. Thinking about Early Wine and reimagining our school during the pandemic, our leadership team was thinking about approaches for instruction, targeted instruction, and also thinking about project-based work to make classes more inclusive, certainly more responsive to our students' needs. And we were thinking about not just teaching moves, but more of curriculum pedagogy. And we sadly lost Miss Anita in June of 2020. And because of the pandemic, there wasn't any real closure. The community was never able to have the opportunity. There was a very well-received and attended kind of drive-by. We were doing lots of drive-bys in those times to say goodbye to her. But there was no real deep connection to her work. And so when we were thinking about this reimagining and the science lab, building the science lab and creating the space, both an indoor space and outdoor space, which I hope you all will come by and see. It's absolutely beautiful. And truly represents who she was, not just as a person, but as a servant of our community. Overwhelmingly, her name was, we're using her space. And in such, we wanted to ensure that it embodied all that she stood for. And when you're thinking about going forward, you have to think about where you've been. And certainly in thinking about where our community has been for the past 32 years, you can't think without Miss Anita. So overwhelmingly, I can say it's going to be very well with our grand opening tomorrow will be very well attended. But overwhelmingly, her name is something that we want to kind of keep alive in our community and be reminded that service is something that's important, not just for us as adults in our teaching, but for something for our students to be very thoughtful of and how the ripples of their service will impact their communities.
And with that, we would request the board approve the naming of the OW Early Wine Science Lab to Anita Warmack Children's Science lab. And do you want to invite them again for tomorrow?
Would love to have you tomorrow at 9 o'clock. We're having a media event and grand openings ceremony. Mr. Warmack, Mark Warmack, is going to be there to do the ribbon cutting. We've had him as a part of this process. It was a surprise for a while because we were building it for 2.5 years. It started with budget revisions during the pandemic in 2020, and then continuing through the last couple of years, and finally culminating to tomorrow's event.
And with that, do you have any questions?
Do we have any public comment?
We do not.
Okay. I have no questions, just gratitude. I gotta say that OW Earlywine is a very unique school. My children went there, and my 25-year-old was one of Miss Anita's littles. And I was one of her students prior to me coming onto this board, and I will forever be grateful for that. She really built a sense of strong community that, like you said, generations and generations. And when you talk about during the pandemic, as you know, people would do the drive-bys, I attended that, and there were hundreds of cars just surrounding the neighborhood just to get a drive-by to say hello to Miss Anita during that time. So this is amazing, amazing work, and she's really touched many hearts, and I'm really proud that we're doing something to honor her legacy. So Member Morosky, I'll let you speak, but I would love to make this motion. No, I'll let you speak first.
Absolutely.
Okay, Member Morosky, go ahead.
No, I'm not going to cut ahead on that. No, just wanted to thank you for bringing this forward, Principal Chapman, and we miss you in Area 1, but appreciate your service to our district as well. And I know you understand how much of this work is really heart work, and so I appreciate you bringing this forward. Thank you.
The phrasing at the bottom of the banner that we have is growing through love and kindness. And it's something that we embrace deeply at our school and in all the schools that I've served at. And really, she's one that led that by example. When I think about the word, it's stoic. She's just a calm presence. And even my wife was a dear colleague of hers, and when things come up that are tough, that phrase lives on literally every day, every week. You know, what would Miss Anita do? And it guides you, it calms you, and it helps you lean in, because we not often lean in the right ways. And particularly, it gets difficult when times are tough in schools, like had they've been, and what would she do? And she'd find a way. So
I often ask myself that many times. All right. Well, with that, I'd love to have the privilege of making the motion to approve the naming of OW Earlywine Science Lab to the Anita Warmack Children's Science Lab. I'll take a second. All right. I have a motion and a second. Student preferential vote.
Aye.
All right. Deputy Superintendent Allen, roll call.
Member Pritchett?
Aye.
Member Garcia?
Aye.
Member Rhodes?
Aye.
Member Morowski?
Aye.
Member Villa?
Aye.
Member Wu? Member Phillips?
Thank you.
thank you. And on behalf of the Warmack family, whether they couldn't be here tonight, they'll all be in attendance tomorrow. They're deeply grateful, deeply honored, and appreciate your continuous support.
Their roots are strong in the Area 3.
They are indeed.
All right. Thank you.
You all.
Item 11.3, A through G completion grant, CDE 22 through 25. What's that? Oh, yeah.
Good evening again. Okay, Vanessa Butrago, one of our instructional assistant superintendents, and I are here this evening to share with you the plans for our A to G incentive grant. If you would please advance to the next slide. The A to G completion grant provides our district with $3.1 million over the course of 4 years, thank you, to directly support pupil access to and successful completion of the A to G course requirements. Tonight, we are going to share with you our proposed use of these funds to support that access and completion rates by reimagining scheduling in our 9th grade cohorts, providing site-based grade level leads, coordinating wraparound services, and engaging teachers. Next slide. Again, we are here, we share our core value and our guiding principle to remind ourselves that as we do this work, we are really aiming to improve outcomes for our students. Next slide, please. A little bit of background on A to G. So the A to G college entrance requirements are a sequence of high school courses that students must complete with a grade C or better in order to be minimally eligible for admission to University of California and California State Universities. We call this A to G because the courses are categorized into 7 content areas that you see here. Next slide, please. This slide shares with you our A to G completion rates for our students who graduated in 2018-19 through 21-22. So you can see here that we've hovered around a 50% A to G completion rate for our students in Sac City for the last 4 years, with some drops as we see here toward the end of COVID. On track is defined that in 9th grade, students have completed a minimum of 4 A to G courses. By the end of 10th grade, 7, by the end of 11th grade, 11, and by the end of 12th grade, 15. So that's the on-track rate. So these are the 12th graders who completed a minimum of 15 A to G courses. Next slide, please. You'll see that A to G is written into our LCAP, our goal is to increase the percent of students who are on track to graduate college and career ready. So that A to G measurement is really about that college ready piece. Next slide, please. Currently, we do a number of things to improve our A to G completion rates. Primarily under the leadership of Christina Espinoza, our Director for College and Career Readiness. We do a transcript review for A to G completion using the UC Transcript Evaluation Services. We provide additional expanded credit recovery options using online platforms in summer school, so that allows students to retake courses that they did not earn a grade C or better in order to be eligible for A to G. We do extensive A to G training for our school site staff, so administrators, counselors, registrars, so that they can support students on the A to G pathway. And then we have a central district infrastructure to support the sites as well. I am going to hand it over to Instructional Assistant Superintendent Vanessa Betrago to share with you what we are planning to do with our incentive grant.
Thank you, Assistant Superintendent Hansen. Good evening, members of the board and Deputy Superintendent Allen. To prepare an informed proposal, Central Office and site leaders conducted an analysis of Sacramento City Unified School District's A through G completion rates. In addition, we analyzed pertinent research, available literature on this, gathered input from comprehensive high school principals as well. We were able to take a group of educators from Sac City Unified School District to Phoenix, where we were able to see best practices. And in addition to that, we were able to really see the value of instituting wraparound services for 9th graders. So as a result of all that, we really identified 9th grade as being that need, right, that greatest area of need. Next slide, please. So why 9th grade? On average, more than 90% of Sac City Unified School District 9th graders begin their freshman year on track for A through G completion. Yet less than 50% of 9th graders complete their freshman year on track for A through G. So just that 1 year makes a huge difference. Researchers have shown that freshman year is really ultimately that make or break year. And it is important to note that ultimately students who receive 1 or more F in that year are very unlikely to graduate. Next slide, please. Again, why ninth grade? Ninth graders have the lowest grade point average, the most missed classes, and ultimately they represent the majority of failing grades in high school. And also, we see more, the most misbehavior referrals from that particular group. Okay. In addition, when we were looking at available research, particularly a lot of the literature that was coming out of Chicago, Chicago schools, we noted that one F in a year-long course in the ninth grade ultimately decreases the probability of eventually graduating by over 30 percentage points. So taking into that account, and also you'll notice that in the presentation we've included additional resources if you would like to take a look at that. Next slide, please. All right, so taking all of that into account, our proposal has a specific improvement aim, which is to increase the percent of ninth graders who complete their freshman year on track for A through G. The change idea includes a number of different elements, which ultimately fall under the kind of larger category of creating freshman academies at all comprehensive high schools at this time. You will note that this does not include the small high schools because the small high schools are already built in this way. There are similar supports and they are cohorted. But for the comprehensive high schools, we're looking to leverage the master schedule to schedule ninth graders in a minimum of 3 course cohorts. We'd like to provide a system of wraparound services for all ninth graders at the comprehensive high schools, in addition to providing ninth grade teachers and support staff additional professional learning opportunities and collaboration time, which is important. We also are looking to calibrate curriculum, instruction, and assessment practices to address any equity concerns that we currently have in ninth grade, and finally adding an additional FTE at each comprehensive high school to allow for a ninth grade lead or coordinator who will lead all of this work. Next slide, please. So with regard to the actual actions, we have actions that will ultimately require the additional funding that we're going to use this, or we're proposing to use this money for. And then there's also what we see as already existing, which means that we do not need additional funding for these activities. With regard to the additional funding, we are looking for additional collaboration time for our ninth grade teachers, 3 hours per month. Onboarding for all ninth grade teachers, which is ultimately going to be 40 hours prior to the beginning of the school year. Again, FTE for that site-based ninth grade lead, so that's 1.0 FTE at each comprehensive high school. SEL materials, professional learning consultants and contracts, and then enrichment opportunities. In addition to those items, we would like to continue that cross-curricular cohorting, which is not going to involve additional funding, common prep time for teacher teams, again, not additional funding because that's already built into the collaboration time on Thursdays, a designated Thursday CT for ninth grade teacher teams, and then a designated Thursday CT for content-specific teams. Next slide, please. Well, there should be another slide.
In your slide deck, do you have a slide 13 that has the budget on it? Okay.
There should be a slide there, okay.
Yeah, we do.
So you will see in your packet, it should be slide 13, there is a proposed budget. This actually breaks down the way we intend to spend the $3.1 million. You'll see that we break down the costs for the 3 hours additional hours per month, 40 hours of onboarding, that FTE for the ninth grade lead, as well as the SEL/academic enrichment. So in addition, this grant requires our district to identify how we will monitor progress using these funds and subsequently engage in and document that progress monitoring. In order to monitor progress, we propose to look at A through G on track rates based on course enrollment, grades, and enrollment in A through G courses. DNF rates is something else that we would be tracking, graduation on track rate as well, site-based PDSA cycles, site-based collaboration time, participation agendas, minutes to make sure that the work is being done, and then professional learning opportunities and surveys for the staff that will be engaged in this work. In terms of next steps, for December 2022, we hope to have you review this information and approve the A through G incentive grant plan. If it is approved, then in January 2023, we would convene an implementation team that would then establish specific improvement aim and metrics, develop actions and specific timelines for the 3-year implementation, and then ultimately prepare that 22-23 budget development, master scheduling, and professional learning for following years. That is it. We're just ready for questions and answers.
Do we have any public comment? Do we have any board comment or questions? Member Morosky.
Thank you. Real quick, it sounds great. I was curious, is the change idea, are these based on like evidence-based research of stuff that's been shown to be effective? Okay, that's what I assumed, but thank you.
All right. Member Garcia?
So just have a quick question. On slide 5, you have the completion rates. So it's been hovering around 50%. What's the enrollment rate? So it's 50% of what? Of all students?
Yes.
Okay.
So when we said that 90% of our 9th graders begin 9th grade on track, that's 90% of all 9th graders in our system. And this 50% that we talked about is the total number of students, is the 50% of the total number who are still enrolled in 12th grade.
Okay. Okay.
So for example, in 21-22, 49.7% of all 12th graders exiting our system met A to G completion rates. So 49.7 had completed 15 A to G courses at minimum.
Okay, yeah, because the enrollment is always higher than the completion, right? Because many of our students are enrolled, but they just don't complete.
So the total, the denominator is our full enrollment, is every single student that's enrolled in 12th grade. And then the numerator would be the number that completed the 8 to 15, a minimum of 15 of those.
Okay. Okay. And then, and then I think the committee or the team is going to set the target rates in terms of how much what the goal is to increase by year to year. And then because it's a grant, I think it'll be important to understand how does this work continue beyond the grant expiration date. And I know the state struggles with that, and tough times are coming in the future in terms of the economy. So just making sure that, at some point, sooner rather than later, it gets built into the budget, the district budget, to sustain the work beyond the grant expiration.
That makes sense, and that's something that we can absolutely include as we create an implementation plan. I will add to your question and to Member Morosky's about the data, the evidence-based practices, or that were best practices around this. The core districts of California have a 9th grade breakthrough, they call it, what is it, the breakthrough learning cohort. And so we're really looking to CORE to help us to look at the science and help us design what this will look like. So there is some sustainability work being done there as well.
Okay,
So
that's
we'll be
good
able
to
to
hear.
collaborate with CORE and other districts.
Yeah, that's good to hear. And yes, they're doing a great job at CORE. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Member Wu?
Yeah, it's a real simple question. We have the money in hand, right?
Yes.
Okay, because it wasn't clear that the grant was already granted.
Yes.
So,
It's a grant that we automatically receive, and then we create a plan for it.
okay.
Member Phillips?
Are we, I know that you said you were considering all students in the ninth grade. Are we looking into specific considerations for our special populations?
So when we convene our committee, the planning committee in January, absolutely looking at our student groups and identifying who our target students are. So when we're talking about an improvement aim and increasing the percent of students who are graduating with A to G completion, we need to be looking at those student groups and not just saying overall who's graduating having met these criteria, but are each student group also meeting that target goal? So we'll be looking at it through that lens and setting specific targets.
Okay, kind of like MTSS and tiers and kind of applying all of that across. Okay.
Yeah. Love that connection. Thank you.
I love that look that you just gave. All right. Thank you for this. This is an informational item. I'm looking forward to having you back.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Item 12.0, consent agenda. Do we have any public comment? Yes. Can you turn on your mic? Sorry.
You recorded. I want to lift the item for expulsion number 5 for a separate vote.
Wait, so can you repeat what you said?
Let me use the phrasing. Yeah. Yeah, I guess I'm going to remove it from the consent agenda. So I'd like to request that item 12.1H be pulled and voted on separately.
Approve staff recommendation
It was the expulsion one.
and bring it back to a future board?
No,
Tonight.
just to be
Okay,
voted on
I understand.
separately.
Okay, yes, I understand. Okay, so can I get a motion, can I get a motion to approve the consent agenda, or do we listen to that one first?
Either order's
Okay,
fine.
yeah, let's approve this agenda, then we're going to approve that one. Okay. Thank you. Second? All right. Student preferential vote.
Sorry.
All right. Deputy Superintendent Allen?
Member Pritchett.
Aye.
Member Garcia. Aye. Member Rhodes.
Aye.
Member Morowski.
Aye.
Member Villa.
Aye.
Member Wu. Member Phillips.
Aye.
All right. Now we'll hear 12.1H. Do we just need a
No
second
discussion,
motion?
just a vote.
Oh, okay, gotcha. All right. Can I get a motion? All right. A second? All right. Student preferential vote?
Aye.
All right. Deputy Superintendent Allen?
Member Pritchett.
Aye.
Member Garcia. Aye. Member Rhodes.
Aye.
Member Morowski.
Aye.
Member Villa.
Aye.
Member Wu. Member Phillips.
No.
All right. Item 13.0, business and financial reports received. Item 14.0, future board meetings and dates, December 15th and January 19th. With that, I'll take a motion for adjournment. Somebody's excited. All right, student preferential vote. All in favor say aye. Aye. All right, meeting adjourned.